The OnePlus 9 Pro holds its own against other flagships with a spectacular ultra-wide camera, smooth performance, and impressively fast wireless charging. The OnePlus 9 Pro delivers a streamlined flagship experience to T-Mobile and Verizon subscribers, finally catching up to its competitors. The phone itself is light in the hand, and the user experience is weightless as well. The cameras take knockout photos in pretty much all conditions, and the integrated fast charging is the best we've seen. The Galaxy S21 Ultra scores a bit better in our battery and wireless radio testing, works with Samsung's excellent S Pen stylus, and its camera offers killer optical zoom, so it just edges out the 9 Pro to be our editor's choice among flagship smartphones. Still, the OnePlus 9 Pro is outstanding. If you want a top-notch, loaded phone that makes your heart sing, you're now spoiled for choice. OnePlus was once a company that made a single great phone at a time. Now it has a full line of phones at T-Mobile and providers such as Google Fi, Metro, and Mint Mobile that use T-Mobile's networks. The $969.99 OnePlus 9 Pro, the $729.99 OnePlus 9, the $299.99 OnePlus Nord N10, and the $179.99 OnePlus Nord N100. They all share the OnePlus philosophy, which means speedy, elegant software and a streamlined physical design. Cameras have always been the one place OnePlus tended to fall behind Samsung and Apple, so OnePlus made the deal with Hasselblad for color tuning and bought a new sensor from Sony. As a result, the 9 Pro's rear camera stack stands out from the competition. It may not have incredible optical zoom like the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra, but it offers many more possibilities for creative expression. In addition to the standard wide and ultra-wide lenses you'll find on most phones, OnePlus added an pan mode that creates images in a 65 minutes and 24 seconds format. The OnePlus 9 offers similar overall performance to the 9 Pro but steps down a bit on screen, camera, and radio quality, and it doesn't integrate super fast wireless charging. If you don't mind those downgrades, you can save $240 and get an even smaller and lighter phone. See our review of the OnePlus 9 for all the details. Light, sleek design. The 9 Pro's base model has 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. The 12GB/256GB model costs an additional $100. There is no memory card slot. The phone is perfectly sized, measuring 6.42 by 2.89 by 0.34 inches and weighing 6.9 ounces. That's a little wider than the 2.8 inches we use as the cutoff width measurement for small phones, but it's noticeably smaller and lighter than the Galaxy S21 Ultra, and narrower than the OnePlus 8 Pro. Of the three, the 9 Pro is the easiest to use with a single hand. The design, very in tune with OnePlus' burdenless design philosophy, is slim and elegant. The phone's body is rounded, with the traditional OnePlus mute switch on the left side and the Hasselblad branded camera module on the back. The camera doesn't stick out nearly as much as a recent Samsung camera bumps do because it doesn't have a giant periscopic zoom lens in it. The front-facing camera is a hole punch on the upper left corner, just like on the 8 Pro. The phone has an IP68 rating for water and dust resistance, and comes in 2 colors. If you're not going to put your phone in a case, we like the matte pine green better than the mirrored silver morning mist glass back, which attracts greasy fingerprints. Our review unit came with a black carbon fiber case that made that issue moot. Unlike the Galaxy S21 Ultra and recent Tiffany's, your OnePlus phone comes with a cable and a 65W charger. Luxury? There's a reason. OnePlus uses proprietary USB-C chargers. Though the phone will charge from any USB-C source, it'll only achieve its highest charging speeds with the included adapter. There's no headphone jack or USB-C to 3.5mm adapter in the box. That said, the 9 Pro sports aptX HD, LHDC, and Sony's LDAC Bluetooth codecs for excellent wireless audio. If you opt for OnePlus Buds Pro earphones, you'll get customized tap features along with 24-bit/96 kHz audio at up to 900 kbps/s. If you're looking at other wireless earbuds, look for a pair with LDAC since it's more widely available and offers the highest resolution audio delivered over Bluetooth. As for the onboard speakers, the audio quality is excellent. Dual stereo speakers deliver audio with a peak volume of 98 decibels and a surprising bit of mid-bass. For voice calls, which have a maximum volume of 81 decibels, the phone supports the best voice codec currently available, HD voice with Fs. A bright, yet battery-saving display, the bright and crisp 6.7-inch, 525 ppi, 3216 by 1440 pixel screen can be dialed back to 1080p in the phone's settings if you want to conserve battery life. The display uses a relatively new technology called low-temperature polycrystalline oxide that reduces power consumption and gives phone manufacturers more control over refresh rates. It's the same technology that powers Apple's iPhone 13 Pro models as well as the Samsung Galaxy S21 series. This is a top-of-the-line OLED display with a bonus: it's very visible in direct sunlight. The screen protector is pre-installed. We didn't remove it from our test unit. According to DisplayMate Labs tests, the 9 Pro's display set to auto brightness mode beats the 8 Pro, the Galaxy S20 series, and the latest iPhones in ambient light, but not the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. The 9 Pro also improves the maximum color gamma in its vivid display mode, which helps it maintain color saturation in outdoor lighting. Besides in brightness and color, the 9 Pro's display isn't easily distinguishable from other recent top-of-the-line OLED panels. The real news is power optimization, as the LTPO panel dynamically and imperceptibly changes its refresh rate from 120 Hz all the way down to 1 Hz to save energy. Check out our in-depth exclusive for more on the display. Impressive speed and ease of use. OnePlus phones are always fast, and the OnePlus 9 Pro is no exception. It's powered by a top-of-the-line Qualcomm Snapdragon 888. It scored a bit better than the Galaxy S21 Ultra on Geekbench, with single-core scores around 1125 and multi-core scores around 3700. That's a 24% increase on single-core results and a 12% increase on multi-core results over the OnePlus 8 Pro. None of these phones can surpass the iPhone 12, though, which scored 1596 SC and 4049 MC with its Apple A14 processor. The Snapdragon 888 provides a lift in graphics performance, too. On the Geekbench Car Chase off-screen benchmark, the 9 Pro scored around 70 FPS, with 37 FPS on screen in WQHD mode and 58 FPS on screen in HD mode. That's a major jump up from the 8 Pro, which scored 51 FPS off-screen and either 26 or 45 FPS on screen depending on screen resolution. These benchmarks don't take into account OnePlus software, which incorporates a bunch of performance enhancements. In our experience with OnePlus phones, they feel like the speediest Android phones, even faster than Google Pixels. The phone runs Android 11 with OnePlus Oxygenos enhancements, and OnePlus says it'll get updates as far as Android 13 along with the monthly security updates for 3 years. For a flagship, that's a little disappointing, especially since Samsung offers at least 3 years of software updates on its budget series models. Oxygenos has always had a bunch of nice touches, such as the ability to install 2 copies of social media apps for different accounts, a setting to change screen color based on ambient light, and a Zen mode that temporarily disables the phone's most distracting functions. Was this version, OnePlus adds RAM compression that it says increases the number of apps that can remain in memory with saved state. Our test unit had no problem keeping 7 apps in memory, even with the giant RAM hog engine impact at the back of the line. To test cooling, which OnePlus says it's improved over previous models, we ran a processor pumping app called CPU throttling test on the 9 Pro, the Galaxy S21, and the 8 Pro for 15 minutes. At the 10-minute point, the 8 Pro's performance took a sharp dive to about 80% of peak. Both of the newer phones were still maintaining closer to 90% performance at that time. After 13 minutes of pumping the processor, the Galaxy S21's performance smoothly declined to a little over 80% of peak, while the 9 Pro remained in the 90% range. Finally, the 9 Pro's performance declined significantly at almost exactly 15 minutes as the phone attempted to cool itself down. During the test as a whole, the 9 Pro and Galaxy S21 performed at 87 to 88% of max performance, while the 8 Pro was down at 78%. Gaming performance is amped up with a 360Hz touch response rate, but only for apps, PUBG Mobile, Call of Duty, League of Legends, and Brawl Stars. OnePlus says it will work on adding 360Hz touch support to more games. That would definitely help this feature rise from a curiosity to a differentiator. The Samsung Galaxy S20 phones offer a 240Hz touch sampling rate. Samsung doesn't give a spec on the Galaxy S21, but we think it's the same. Ultra Super Mega Fast Charging. The pair of batteries in the 9 Pro total for 500 mAh. That's short of the Galaxy S21 Ultra's 5000 mAh, but OnePlus has a range of software tricks up its sleeve to keep the phone charged, so many that we're not even sure all of them came into use during our testing. On our standard battery test, running a YouTube video over Wi-Fi at full screen brightness, the phone lasted for 8 hours, 50 minutes in WQHD resolution and 9 hours, 40 minutes in HD. Display brightness matters a lot to battery life. Take the brightness down to 75% and those numbers jump to 12 hours, 40 minutes on WQHD and 13 hours on HD. That's a lot shorter than the Galaxy S21 Ultra and the Galaxy S20 FE, but you should have no problems getting through a day of moderate use. But there's more to this battery than meets the eye. To start with, the display slows down to 1 Hz when you're looking at static content, such as an email you're mulling over or a page of an ebook. That can be a huge power saver. OnePlus also has a reputation for losing less power to background processes than Samsung does. If you use 75% screen brightness most of the time, you'll probably get more than a day of battery life from one charge. The 9 Pro also has by far the fastest charging speeds of any phone we've ever tested. It comes with a Warp Charge 65T USB-C charger, which charges the 9 Pro from 0% to 20% in 6 minutes and to 100% in just 36 minutes. That's twice as fast as any recent Samsung phone charges. If you use a third-party charger, the phone will charge at up to 18 watts, with correspondingly longer charge times. The real breakthrough is in OnePlus' new Warp Charge 50 wireless charger, a $69.99 accessory cradle that plugs into your existing Warp Charge 65 adapter to provide 50-watt wireless charging for the 9 Pro, or 15-watt key charging for any other device. In testing with the Warp Charge 50, the 9 Pro went to 29% in 11 minutes and 100% in 46 minutes. Other phones, including the 9, take between 90 minutes and 2 hours to wirelessly charge completely. All the 5G trimmings, for T-Mobile and Verizon, like other Snapdragon 888 phones, the 9 Pro uses a Qualcomm X60 modem, which works with all of the features T-Mobile and Verizon intend to use in the next few years, including new airwaves and aggregation schemes. It has Bluetooth 5.2 and Wi-Fi 6 as well, but not Wi-Fi 6E. T-Mobile is the only carrier selling the 9 Pro, but if you buy an unlocked model from OnePlus or a retailer, it will also work on Verizon. If you try to use it on AT&T, OnePlus says it will only connect to 4G. The OnePlus 9 Pro has all of the new technologies being integrated into T-Mobile and Verizon's networks, including CDRs, C-band, and millimeter wave. This is a single SIM phone, with no eSIM option. With a T-Mobile SIM in, the phone enabled Wi-Fi calling, smart 5G and dual-channel network acceleration. With an AT&T SIM in, as expected, the phone used only 4G and lacked Wi-Fi calling. The big spec difference between the 9 and the 9 Pro is that the 9 Pro has mmWave. T-Mobile currently only uses mmWave in 7 cities, and is most likely to roll it out in super crowded places, sports stadiums, concert halls, convention centers, and the like. It's a might be nice, not a must-have. It's more desirable on Verizon, which has mmWave in the centers of more than 70 cities now. We tested the 9 and the 9 Pro against the Samsung Galaxy S21 with 86 rounds of tests using Ookla speediest software in New York City, in a range of network conditions. Editor's note: Ookla is owned by Ziff Davis, PC Mag's publisher. Over 17 tests, the Galaxy S21 turned in the best performance. The 9 Pro got a boost from mmWave to come in second, and the 9 dropped to third. Across a range of non-mmWave tests with mixed signal quality, the Galaxy S21 came in first place again. In a standalone T-Mobile mid-band ultra-capacity area, on the other hand, the three phones performed almost identically. If you're outside a major city, you're probably most concerned about weak signal performance. In our tests, the Galaxy S21 showed the strongest 4G RSRP signal 29 times, the 9 Pro was strongest 26 times, and the 9 was strongest 22 times. So the Galaxy S21 wins once again, though not by much. Over 6 rounds of testing in a weak signal area, the Galaxy S21 showed stronger signal only 3 of the times, but the 9 Pro had signal dropouts. The Galaxy S21's edge is slight but noticeable. Blinding you with color science, imaging collaborations aren't new for smartphone manufacturers. Huawei has partnered with Leica for years. The Zeiss name is plastered on the back of smartphones from Nokia, Sony, and Vivo. Hasselblad's Black's only previous US partnership was with Motorola on its clunky but capable True Zoom Moto Mob, but the 9 series brings Hasselblad back to the smartphone market in triumphant style. The 9 Pro is capable of taking incredible photos with every lens. The 48MP primary lens has an f/1.8 aperture, optical image stabilization, and electronic image stabilization. There's also a 50MP ultra-wide lens with an f/2.2 aperture, and an 8MP telephoto lens with an f/2.4 aperture, as well as a 2MP monochrome sensor. You'll find all the usual flagship bells and whistles on the 9 Pro: dual LED flash, multi-autofocus with omnidirectional phase detection AF, laser AF, and contrast AF. A large 50-megapixel ultra-wide lens takes beautiful low-light photos. There's also 8K video at 30 fps and 4K at up to 120 fps, and super slow motion at up to 480 fps and 720p. For the most part, the camera app is intuitive and easy to use. The shutter button is a Hasselblad branded orange, and it makes a distinct Hasselblad shutter sound. Our only complaint is that we found tilt-shift mode a bit clunky and difficult to use. Some of the 9 Pro's most significant camera features are in the software. Hasselblad worked closely with OnePlus to update its color science and develop additional features for pro smartphone shooters. In auto and pro modes, colors are warm, with reds and blues getting a healthy saturation boost while yellows and greens to be a little undersaturated. Since OnePlus and Hasselblad put a big emphasis on the 9 series color science, we compared the 9 Pro to a few other flagships and found it stood up extremely well to the competition. Apple seriously improved its color science with iOS 14 and the iPhone 12. Where the 9 Pro tends to saturate reds and blues, Apple focuses more on boosting luminance, so the iPhone 12's photos tend to look a little more true to life than the 9 Pro's. Place photos from the 9 Pro and the Galaxy S21 Ultra side by side and you can immediately recognize the difference between the two cameras. OnePlus takes a lighter hand with boosting saturation and other computational adjustments. Samsung is much more aggressive. In one of our test photos, the dreary March sky captured on the Galaxy S21 Ultra suddenly became blue. The 9 Pro was much more accurate in its overall representation of the scene. In Pro mode, you can adjust ISO, focus exposure time, white balance, and a number of other settings. There's also the option to shoot in 12-bit RAW format, which offers 64 times the color data of the 10-bit RAW on other flagships. The ultra-wide 50MP lens is a Sony IMX766 sensor that's significantly larger than the one in the iPhone 12 Pro Max. In our tests, the lens did a terrific job in both bright and low light. Photos are crisp with excellent depth of field and solid background detail. Our shots taken with the primary lens were impressive as well. In good light, the 9 Pro holds its own against other flagships, with realistic depth of field and hardly any loss of fine detail. In the fall of 2021, OnePlus delivered a major update to the camera software. Test shots show more accurate white balance and are crisp without being over-sharpened, a common problem with most smartphone cameras. When we reviewed the photos at full size, the photos remained crisp and had less noise. The app is also faster in general and there is less shutter lag. It's a minor change, but it makes a big difference when taking shots with movement. But where the camera really excels is in low light. The primary lens did well, as expected. Our test shots with the fall update remained crisp with an improved texture-to-noise ratio. The big improvement, however, was with dynamic range and overall scene accuracy. The two worked in conjunction to create a more honest reflection of the moment. And while we were particularly bowled over by the ultra-wide lens performance in our original tests, the camera update just made things better. All of the improvements we noticed in the primary lenses were evident in our ultra-wide test shots. Those improvements, combined with the lack of distortion, makes the OnePlus 9 Pro's ultra-wide lens the best we've tested. We didn't notice much improvement in our shots with the telephoto lens after the software update. The OnePlus 9 Pro's telephoto lens is better than what you'll find on its predecessor, but it still doesn't compare with the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultras. At lower zoom levels, our test shots had plenty of detail, though there was some expected loss of detail in the distance. As we bumped up the zoom, however, we started to notice significant blur and noise when compared with the same image taken on the Galaxy S21 Ultra. The unnatural sharpening we noticed in our original test shots, however, has been significantly improved. Smartphone macro lenses are rarely worth using, but here the 9 Pro really stands out. Our macro shots were much sharper than expected, and leagues better than photos taken with the 8x 2MP macro lens. The monochrome sensor works in tandem with the main sensor to take beautiful black and white photographs with lots of depth and inky blacks. The API included a similar feature for years and then suddenly removed it, causing an outcry from smartphone shutter bugs. If you knew and loved the feature, the 9 Pro's resurrection of it will delight you. The biggest, and most impressive, change to the OnePlus 9's camera, however, is the addition of a pan mode. It's a feature that mimics Hasselblad's now discontinued pan cameras to create an image that's reminiscent of those you'd take with its 30mm and 45mm lenses. The photos are cropped to a 65 minutes and 24 seconds aspect ratio. It's a dramatic look that gives you a whole new way to tell stories, and evokes images of film stills. There are options to shoot in color as well as black and white. It's hard to overstate just how much room a pan offers for creativity. 4:3 and 16:9 aspect ratios are so ubiquitous that it takes a beat to get used to all the different things you can do in the format. We tested it in multiple lighting scenarios and it performed perfectly. Our test shots were immersive and crisp, with excellent dynamic range. Depth of field is excellent as well. Hasselblad's unique color science for a pan also creates an entirely different feel that's similar to photos shot on Kodak Ektachrome or Fuji Previa slide film. Our photos showed less contrast and more natural colors that almost seem slightly undersaturated since we've become so accustomed to oversaturation on smartphones. On the front of the 9 Pro, you'll find a 32MP lens. It performs extremely well in any lighting condition. There's a little background blur in our photos, which is to be expected. Foreground detail and depth of field, however, are spot on. Portrait mode works without a hitch as well. Our test shots had natural bokeh and perfect depth mapping in every shot. One small step shy of the crown, the OnePlus 9 Pro is an excellent phone. At $970, it holds its own against the slightly more expensive Galaxy S21 Ultra and Infinix 12 Pro. It doesn't quite match the Galaxy S21 Ultra on camera zoom or network performance, but it's lighter and sleeker. It has some unique camera tricks, and there's that renowned OnePlus speed and elegant software. That amazing fast charging and the battery-saving display also make a big difference in day-to-day use. The 9 Pro is better than the OnePlus 8 series in every way, so the upgrade is easily warranted. It only fails to nab our Editor's Choice Award because the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra is even more outstanding and can be used on any carrier. The 9 Pro and the Galaxy S21 Ultra together currently define the Android state-of-the-art. Depending on your priorities, either will serve you very well for the next few years.